the Bernie Thompson Show.
To get close to each other.
It's always a pleasure to be here. I mean, people are nice, so you treat me right, you know.
Maybe you even get close to the truth.
You and Bernie, where the truth will have its day.
You know, all across these United States, there are places. Well, not all across. I mean, mostly Democrat-run places across these United States. The police aren't able to keep the violence at bay, and it's not just like in commercial districts, as though that wouldn't be bad enough. It's in neighborhoods and stuff. And there are some really ugly videos. I can't watch them all because it's so toxic. It makes me, gives me a pit in my stomach. I see one thing I hate, and part of the reason I do what I do is because I hate bullies, right? Especially bullies with political power. But the other kind of bullies I hate are mobs, are violent mobs. And when I see these young white kids, and mostly it's young white kids with masks on their face, screaming the F word, and committing violence, committing assault and battery, and worse, on people. It's really hard for me to watch that, and I actually know how to fix it. I really do know how to fix it. It's not going to get fixed, but I'll tell you how. If you're saying, how do we fix it? This is how we do. It's I thought of this back when Occupy. Remember Occupy back in it was a response to the Tea Party. Remember the Tea Party was a response to Obama, and then Occupy was a response to the Tea Party. And it was sort of like pre-Antifa, you know, where you had a bunch of liberal maniacs who set up like tent camps and then molested the ladies in the tents, especially if they were, what do you say, cognitively impaired. And I don't mean because they were drinking. I mean, maybe they're autistic. I mean, it was unbelievable. I was like, I can't believe that. You know, they can do all this. And it was Occupy, and they were trying to make it a big statement, and then they ramped it up to Antifa, where they actually attack everybody. Doesn't agree. But the way you do it is we, as productive Americans, we stop funding our own demise. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. You have to end all of the subsidies and the welfare, because while we're working to fund our own demise, they take the paychecks and want to beat us up after that. That's amazing, isn't it? I'm going to develop that line of thought soon, but I do want to continue on with the effort to censor. There's a tremendous effort to censor. And it's not just to censor you and me on Twitter and Facebook. There's also a tremendous effort to censor doctors, as I just shared with you. And there's an effort to censor elected officials who don't toe the line. And there's one elected official in Escambia County who doesn't toe the line. He thinks for himself. And it's Escambia County Commissioner Doug Underhill. He's in hot water now because he made a post on Facebook. Can you believe that? Public post for everybody to see. And he encouraged people to write to the Escambia County commissioners and say, don't arrest people, don't fine people over a mask ordinance. That was the crime he committed. And now, of course, his political enemies are all over him, and I've asked him to join us. Commissioner Doug Underhill, welcome to the Bernie Thompson Show.
Welcome, Bernie. Is it actually possible to be in hot water with the snowflakes?
For you, maybe not. For the rest of us, I mean, you take it pretty well, I got to say. Before you get started,
gosh.
Doug, I want to say...
And it's never ending, isn't it?
It's never ending, and that's the hard part. They do wear you out a little bit. But I do want to say this before I let you explain what's going on here. I don't find what you did controversial. You didn't send a private message. You made a public post for everybody to see, and they act like they caught you. Here's what I think is controversial. I think it's controversial to say that's controversial, to be honest with you.
Well, it is. It's an extension of cancel culture. These same group of lunatics, they screenshot everything that I do. And it's like, why are you screenshotting what I'm putting out there publicly? There's no logic to it whatsoever, but they are absolutely they're whirling dervishes, and they're in a frenzy because I won't toe the line. They just can't believe that there's a commissioner who is willing to say things that make them upset, because quite frankly, politicians just cave to whoever's in front of them. We are by nature a very weak-kneed group of people, and they're accustomed to that. So when one person doesn't cave to their every whim and desire, they take it very personally.
They do. It's off with your head. They take the Queen of Hearts approach. So tell everybody. So this is coming up in August, if there's not a special meeting sooner, where the county commissioners for Escambia are going to be pressured to pass some sort of mask mandate, meaning you will suffer a fine or worse if you don't wear the mask. And that is your issue. Your issue is not if you choose to wear a mask, is it? Or if a business says you got to wear a mask?
No. Actually, I was going to go into West Marine today, and they have a sign that says you have to wear masks. And so I chose to go take my business somewhere else. No big deal. There's no pain for West Marine, no pain for me. That's their prerogative as a business to make set those standards for what goes on inside their building. No problem with that. But where you start, I also have no problem with spending taxpayer dollars to inform citizens, through the Mask Up campaign, and tell people, hey, look, here's the things you probably ought to think about doing and whatnot. I mean, that's a reasonable purpose for government is to make people more informed so that they can make better decisions. I can live with that. But what I cannot abide by is making a criminal out of a citizen for no other reason than he doesn't have a mask on. And that's exactly what happens if we pass an ordinance.
Well, Doug, we're speaking with Doug Underhill, Commissioner Underhill, they've got to fill up the room in the jails that they're letting people out for, right? I mean, they're letting people out because of COVID. They got to put some citizens in. It's insane.
It is. The more you think about it, the less it makes sense. And I tell you, the thing is, if you say that kind of thing to these people, they take it very personally. They get very angry with you. That's not what we're talking about right now. Well, who are you to say what we can and cannot talk about? And really, that's what we're on. We're on a path to fascism where somebody else decides what you're allowed to talk about. This poor female doctor, comes from a Haitian Creole background. So they're dragging up a bunch of things that she's said that are appropriate for the culture from which she comes as a means to discredit her because she had the gall to say that she's actually seeing hydrochloroquine working out very well.
Yeah, Dr. Stella Emanuel. We just played that, so everybody knows exactly what you're talking about.
And the funny thing is, I thought we were supposed to be more open-minded to people who come from different cultures than us, and here they're shaming this woman because of the culture that she comes from. A group of these yahoos, they attacked my wife over her hair. I can't remember. They called her like bowl cut Betty or something. And I thought that the liberals were telling us that we needed to stop shaming women for the way that they look. Quite frankly, I think my wife is hot, so I don't know what they're talking about. But in order to,
she's also quite athletic, by the way. Any lady who can do 22 push-ups without using her knees day after day after day for 20, she is quite fit there, Commissioner Underhill.
And that's 52 years old, my friend. So
amazing.
Yeah, she's definitely rocking it. And I think that any young woman looking at my wife and her appearance and her professional success should look up to that and say, man, I hope at 52 I'm rocking it like that. But that is not what's happened with these ladies. Ladies, I use the term loosely, but I mean, they're just attack her on everything from her looks to whatnot as a means to get to me. And that is not how our American society is supposed to work.
No, they've gone after, they being your critics and those who want you gone. So in my opinion, they can, make votes to line their own pockets and their friends' pockets. But let's get to what you actually did. So you go to this page. Tell us what page on Facebook you went to, what public post you made so everybody can see it, and why did you do this? What was the purpose of this?
So, Bernie, here's an interesting thing that people don't know. So I use social media extensively, as you know, quite frankly, I use social media as a way to tell the citizens, here is what an elected official who represents you is thinking, doing, and how he's going to vote. Okay. It is, really, honestly, it's not much of a dialogue because I am really busy. I'm not going to, I don't really go on social media necessarily to be able to, I'm not polling people. I'm not trying to, to have a dialogue so much. But it says right there on my Facebook page, it says, if you want to have a dialogue about this, send me an email at the office and I will respond. Mm-hmm. It's just a way for me to let people know what's going on. And I spread that out across dozens of different sites. Sites that are full of liberals, sites that are full of conservatives, sites that I don't even know who it's full of. But it doesn't matter because I speak the same truth no matter what audience I'm in. So I don't care who sees it. There's never a time where I say, oh, please don't share this information with somebody. You've never seen anything like that out of me. So it took me a while to figure out exactly which site it was that I put it on there that they were losing their minds over. Apparently there's a site called No Mas with a K on the end of it, so no mask, pun on the Spanish, I suppose. And I know that a lot of my constituents are on there because I think it was one of my constituents that told me about it. So, it was just another one of the websites that I put stuff up on, and apparently by somebody's standard, and I don't know who the police are that manage these standards, but apparently it's a national site. Okay, well, so it's a national site. Bernie, it's a national issue to have a discussion about how much control your government is allowed to have over you. So, big deal. It's a national site. But the interesting thing is that the guy that's running the BLM protests here in Escambia County, I believe he lives in Mobile, and I believe he's paid with money from outside of the South at all. I don't see any problem with that. I mean, is something I would do? Probably not. But the very same people who are upset about me putting this silly post, one post on a page that, I don't know, I guess somebody says it's a national page, they had no problem whatsoever with an Alabamian coming over to Escambia County and running these protests, which, by the way, I thought the protests were done very well up until a fat white kid jumped on the hood of somebody's car.
It's always the white guys who screwing these racial things.
It's always the white guy, right? or a liberal white girl, right? I mean, it's always amazing to me. When we had we had a huge issue with in a black neighborhood here called Wedgwood, where this dump was really just polluting these people's lives. And the citizens in the neighborhood would come and speak to us, and then we would have these white liberal women get up and pontificate. And I'm like, would you please shut up and sit down because I want to hear from the actual person that lives in the neighborhood. I never understood why white liberal women feel compelled to speak on behalf of people who are actually much better at telling their story than they are.
Yeah, it is interesting. Here's the biggest objection I've heard so far about you, County Commissioner Doug Underhill, posting on a public Facebook page, encouraging people to send emails to your colleagues on the commission. The biggest complaint that they have is that they don't live in the county. That is so unbelievably weak, and here's why. Number one, who cares? Number two, if they come to Escambia County, they have to abide by the law, so they actually are stakeholders in that sense. And number three, you did it publicly. There's no ethical problem. See, you can't call Commissioner Burgash as much as you might want to. Just kidding. You can't call Commissioner Burgash and say, hey, let's vote this way. That's illegal. You cannot communicate with them. But you can encourage, and they do it too, you can encourage other people to express their opinions. This is the weakest criticism I can imagine.
Well, the thing is, they need me to shut up, okay? They really desperately need me to shut up because, quite frankly, the phrase I really love in politics is when the facts are on your side, you pound the facts. When the facts are not on your side, you pound your chest. These people are pounding their chest because the facts are simply not on their side. And anybody who starts to look at the mask mandates, there are 3 counties of similar size to Escambia County that have established mask mandates on the 1st of July or earlier, and they have absolutely no change in their infection rates. The mask mandates did not work in those 3 counties, and there's no reason to believe it would work here. But if you look at the facts, if I keep pounding these facts, then all the chest pounding that these liberals are doing is not going to make a bit of difference.
Well, the reason go ahead. Sorry.
So here's the thing that your listeners absolutely have to know. I am calling for a wide open public discussion because we have to overcome the very insidious private discussion that these people are engaged in. They never, we voted to not have a mask mandate and do the Mask Up Escambia campaign instead. So this should be asked and answered, but not to these people. To them, it's never enough. There's no such thing as enough government. And so they're constantly they're earwigs in every politician's ear telling us to do more. You got to do more. You got to do more. You got to do this, and people will love you if you do that. I can't express to your listeners enough, Bernie, how constant that siren song of big government is. So if you as a small government advocate are not making those phone calls, and if you're looking at those crazy people, the in Portland and places like that, and you're like, well, they're just idiots, they don't matter. Here's the problem. They vote, and they also lobby the politicians every day. Yeah. So if you're not lobbying the politicians every day, you are conceding that space to those kind of people.
Yeah. And, to me, even if you and I were to disagree on the mask effectiveness, because I believe that the masks, and this is based on some of my favorite doctors like Mobeen said, I believe that wearing a mask, if everybody wore a mask in closed spaces like in stores or whatever, I do believe it can slow the spread because they are more, even if it's just a double cloth face covering, it can slow you spreading the virus to somebody else, even if it's only 20%. But set that all aside. Set all of that aside. What everybody should be opposed to is saying that government somehow has the power and the legal authority to punish you for not covering your face. That is unbelievable. That it is a property rights issue. Stores have the right to do it. Governments don't have the right to do it. Now, they'll assume the right, but that's where we should stand up and draw a line, and I appreciate you for that.
Well, and let me read to you from our county attorney telling us she gave us 3 options for what our draft resolution might be next week. The first one is an emergency order requiring individuals to wear masks pursuant to the state of emergency. This requires 3 votes, and a violation of an emergency order is a second-degree misdemeanor per state law. A second-degree misdemeanor.
My God.
I'm going to make a criminal out of you because you don't have a mask on? And, people say, well, and it's funny because Grover, the mayor, he's like, well, we've had an ordinance in the city, and we still haven't had a single arrest or a single fine. Well, if you're telling me that you're going to give government the authority to arrest you or fine you based on the promise that they're not going to arrest you or fine you, you're a fool.
No, that's exactly
once
right.
you give government the authority to do it, then, when it happens, you can't be surprised. My God, a second-degree misdemeanor. You're talking about the kind of thing that would then prevent somebody from getting a job later on.
Yeah. And Doug, you know this, Commissioner Doug Underhill, you know this, and I've got really about 45 seconds. I'll say this quickly and I'll let you end it. After they pass an ordinance that you have to wear a face covering, the next one will be how you wear it. And if you don't wear it properly, you're in trouble then too.
Yes, because the liberals, the fascist movement that's making all of this happen in the shadows, the ones that are constantly pecking on us, it's never going to be enough. There's no such thing as enough government for those folks. And the other aspect is the financial part. Haven't we hit you hard enough? Haven't we hit the working class hard enough and taken enough money out of their pocket by closing down the economy? Now we're going to fine you for not having a mask on your face?
Absolutely.
That's insane.
It
is not.
Yeah, I was going to say Doug Underhill,
well
Commissioner
outside of
Escambia
the
County.
scope of our work.
Yeah, I agree with you. Amen. I've kept you way over. I got to run. We'll see you soon. Best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
All right, absolutely. We'll be back in a moment.
You're listening to The Bernie Thompson Show. More of you and Bernie straight ahead on Pensacola's only 24-hour information station, FM Talk 103.7, Talk 790 AM.